It's time for The Local with your host and realtor, Katie McKinney.
Hey guys, it's Katie, and today I am lucky enough to have Branson Brewer here in the studio. Branson, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So in case you guys don't know, Branson is the guy behind the camera, behind the audio.
Mm-hmm.
He's been helping us with The Local since the very beginning, December of 2019. Which is super exciting, and I've been wanting him to be on The Local for a long time for a number of reasons. But first, Branson, tell us a little bit about what you do. What's your title, so to speak?
Well, kind of have a lot of different stuff I do here. First of all, I work at Classic Communications Radio, and so we've got 4 stations: country station 100.1, 102.3 is our rock station, 107.3 classic hits, and then AM Sports Animal. It's 1450.
Okay.
We bring in the sports animal from Oklahoma City. So
Awesome.
That's what we have here at Classic Communications. I'm an on-air co-host on the morning show on Q102.
Okay.
Me and Jen are on there, and so that's always fun.
Yes.
Let's see. I've got a Thursday night show, the Q2.0. So I do a little bit of on-air stuff, but also like my main job here, account executive. I sell advertising.
Okay, perfect. That's important.
Yeah, if anyone ever needs
some advertising, there's your plug. Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. You guys do. You don't only do those shows. Of course, there's a lot that you do
we've got
here.
shows.
Kind of countless. Obviously, Tradio is one of the.
That's the big one.
That's the big one. Everyone knows about that. But it's always the most funny, I feel like, to listen in on too. So obviously you don't just work here, you are also a student right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to start my 7th year of college.
Woohoo!
I know you think I'm going to be like a brain surgeon or something.
Well, kind of, probably.
No.
What is your major?
Just part-time. I've been going just like 2 classes a semester.
Perfect.
But major in business administration, minor in marketing.
Awesome.
I'm going for.
I was going to say you're busy enough, so I think 2 classes
is
enough. And it's self-paced for the most part on that part-time. And it's here locally at Northwestern.
Here at Northwestern.
Perfect. Hometown.
Yes.
You were born and raised here.
I was not.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about it.
I'm from Texas, like you.
Ah.
I was born in Plano, Texas.
I actually didn't know this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Moved here when I was 9.
Okay.
So in 4th grade.
Okay.
Moved here, been here ever since.
And you graduated from Woodward High School and then went into college and then started working here. What year did you start working here?
Oh, man.
Whatever year was legal for you to start working. No.
In October, it'll be 10 years.
Okay.
That I've been here.
Yeah.
So I was 14.
Okay.
When I started out as the janitor.
Oh,
I did
that.
some cleaning, and then I did some for our ball games.
Perfect.
Push buttons.
Yes.
Mess with faders.
Awesome.
Still do that.
Awesome. Another thing that most people don't realize, and that's kind of why I wanted Branson on, is that he and Jordan, his wife, wonderful wife Jordan, they were my first ever real estate clients.
Very first.
Yeah. Very first. They bought an auction property there, we won't say the address, but on Cherry, which is, I still think Cherry's one of my favorite streets, and not only because of the street, but that's because that's where my first sale was.
Yeah.
And got to meet them, show them some houses, and I remember like our first house that I went and tried to show on 14th Street. I couldn't get the lockbox open.
Yeah.
I could not understand how to work the Bluetooth in the lockbox. And if Tamara Provines is listening, thank you, Tamara, because I had to call and say, how do I turn on the Bluetooth? What does that even mean? And I'm over here, however old enough to know what Bluetooth is, and I did not know how to run it. So Branson and Jordan were very, very courteous and patient with me.
Yeah, it was your first time, but it was also our first time buying a house.
So it's probably a good thing.
It was a learning experience.
It was a learning experience for all of us.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about in July, this last July. Well, we are still in July. It's been 3 years since I've been in real estate, and 3 years since they purchased their first house. So. That's kind of why I wanted to have you on specifically. Obviously, you are involved in the community tremendously. But tell us a little bit, obviously, the advertising. I'm really interested in that side of the business. and so we will talk a little bit about that, but tell us a little bit about Classic Communications. Is this kind of something that your dad Brett came up with, or has radio broadcasting been in the family? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, radio broadcasting, I'm third generation. My grandpa, he was in radio for several years. He got inducted in the Oklahoma Radio Hall of Fame.
Neat.
Bob Brewer.
Okay.
He passed away last year. But yeah, that's pretty cool that he's in the Hall of Fame, the Radio Hall of Fame. So my dad, he grew up in radio.
Yeah.
And so he decided to move here back in like 2005. That's when we moved here. And so he's got radio stations. That's what inspired me, of course, to kind of follow in the footsteps.
Yeah.
But I have an uncle in Elk City that's got some radio stations,
station.
and another uncle in Tulsa,
Wow.
area with radio stations. So
it's really family family business of a lot of family, actually.
Definitely,
so not just generational, but throughout the family. That's really neat. Is there anything specifically that drew you to the radio broadcasting other than it just being a generational thing?
Well, what's kind of funny is growing up, I was the shyest kid in school. I never talked.
Yeah.
I was always really quiet.
Yeah.
And then so I kind of got put into this. I wanted a job when I was 14, so I came here, did all the behind-the-scenes stuff. I didn't do any talking on the radio.
Right.
And then a spot just opened up, and I just enjoyed it. Yeah.
And it probably brought your personality out, and just
definitely
not being as shy, and that's really cool. I didn't know that. Of course, I didn't know you back then, but that makes sense.
If you want to grow, you got to get out of your comfort zone.
That is so true.
I do that every day.
Yeah,
talking
I
on the radio.
so.
And even now, I mean, I talk on the radio, but for this podcast, I mean, there's people watching.
Yes.
I'm not used to being filmed, so if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're watching at.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed, and I'm sure you've noticed it a lot too. And this is a little bit off topic, but really it goes with radio broadcasting, and again, like you're saying, kind of getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I started this podcast, of course, I was super nervous about it, and like I've got to talk and the video, and nobody's gonna listen. But it's been really neat because it's even, which I didn't really have a shell before, but it has even brought that side of me out more. And so I think that's what's really neat and empowering about not only radio broadcasting, but just marketing, video, media, any kind of multimedia in general, is it kind of just bringing out the story of each person. And so that's kind of so I appreciate that of you guys letting us record here, and I really think that is a pretty neat feature of multimedia, but then also radio broadcasting, podcasting, any of that is just telling your story and telling it confidently. So I love that. Perfect. So I guess my question is, with your specific degree, obviously, and that's why we're going into kind of the ads, sales, and that sort of thing. It's business administration with a minor in marketing.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So do you, what do you do specifically with the ads for Classic Communications?
With the ads?
Well, I mean, like, do you help people kind of find a way to market their businesses or events? Yeah. Okay. So tell us a little bit about that in case somebody's interested in marketing here.
Yeah, if you've got an event or whether you're just wanting to promote your business, promote a special sale, or, I mean, we even do live broadcasts. We'll go to your business and do a live remote. But we take that, we build an ad around it and try to reach an audience and bring them to your business.
Perfect.
And that's one thing I love about selling advertising is not only do I get to go out and network and meet new people and meet all these business owners in this community, but I get to help them grow their business. So that's really rewarding, being able to see people grow and have
helping
success.
them that way. Well, and I think and we've talked about this, there's so many different ways you can market.
There really is.
I mean, events, whether it's an event, product, people, whatever it is, there are so many different ways to market, but it's really important that you're reaching an audience, and Classic Communications has a great audience, loyal audience.
Yeah.
I mean, just like what we mentioned with Tradio. I mean, there are, I'm sure, thousands of people that tune in.
People all over Northwest Oklahoma, up into Kansas, and the Texas Panhandle, people all over the place.
Yeah. Well, I remember listening to it when I was younger. I mean, we would, as a kid, and we would listen to, I don't know if it was Tradio at that time, but it was the radio station. And I remember it being from Woodward, and that's just what we listened to, and had the country hits, and that's what we listened to as we got ready for school that morning.
Yeah.
And so I think it is really neat. And, radio and the future of radio, we don't really know.
Yeah,
we just talked about with phones and social media and YouTube and gosh, TikTok even. We don't even know the future of that. But it's just kind of crazy to see the changes. But it seems like radio and podcasting and broadcasting in general continues to be very, very popular.
Yeah.
And don't you think it's kind of funny that podcast recording has made like a comeback?
It seems like it has.
Yeah.
Because it was real popular when it started,
Right.
which I never really
I didn't
listened
listen
to
to
them
it
at the
either,
time,
yeah.
And then it kind of just went away. And then
Right.
over the past maybe couple years, it's
Yeah.
started to pick back up.
I'm telling you, whenever, like with my real estate coach and that whole Tom Ferry organization, but not only that, but just business people in general, entrepreneurs, it seems like everybody has a podcast, which is really neat because it seems like everybody has a story to tell.
Yeah.
And they don't really know how to tell that. Do you tell it over Facebook or Instagram? You know, a lot of those platforms can be too political or too salesy. So, you know, podcasting is kind of seemed like a little bit of that medium ground. But I really think it's interesting because you think video, and it still is. Video is still very important, but where people are driving to and from or doing activities, they can get on Spotify or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different platforms and listen in. So I think that's kind of neat too. Kind of what's your take on that? Is that kind of what you're seeing as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Good. You should start a podcast.
I've thought about it.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
What would it be called?
I don't know.
Oh gosh.
Because I thought Randomonia was my thought. 'Cause I have so many random
Pandemonium?
thoughts,
Yeah.
but I was like, I feel like with a podcast, it needs to kind of be like fit a niche market.
Right.
Like yours is the local.
Right. So they know that it's going to be Northwest Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It'll be, more content within the community, kind of what's going on, people. But I kind of like that because, with the local, and I'm sure for those of you listening, I mean, I kind of thought, okay, it's just going to be people from Northwest Oklahoma that follow me on Facebook that, but really when I meet people, like whether it be family or not family from other areas, they're like, we've been listening to your podcast. Oh my gosh, it warms my heart because, they don't know a lot about Woodward, but, through or Northwest Oklahoma, but through the podcast, they know a little bit more about that specific industry that we're talking about, or whether it's lending or radio or whatever. They learn a little bit more and more each time.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool, but I like that idea because then it's not so specific.
True.
And you can attract from, all over, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them are more broad and then some of them are really specific. So
that was my thought because I was like, what if it's just one topic? What do I talk about?
Yeah.
And what can I talk about consistently?
For years.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, we could talk about Northwest Oklahoma for years.
We could.
But that's why, and that's kind of where I chose it. It's like, it's not just real estate. It's kind of this whole area with real estate in it and kind of relevant. But I feel like you would have enough to talk about. I feel like you.
We'll
I
see.
feel like you
We'll
could
see
get,
if I can
okay,
get
pull it off.
something in the
Pull it off.
works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I could be behind the camera and behind the switches.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Okay. Cool. So I guess a little bit on. Do you have the real estate side? Speaking of real estate, do you have any advice for a first-time home buyer, maybe that I did wrong or right, and helped out? What do you have any advice at all about real estate, trying to gear up for buying that first house or anything like that? I know you guys were really young when you bought your first house.
Yes.
You were ahead of the game in a lot of senses of that word, but and that's saying, I guess. But is there any advice you have?
I mean, what I've told friends that haven't bought a house yet, I'm like, start saving, start working on your savings, start building credit. You want to make sure you have good credit and pick a good real estate agent.
Even if she doesn't know what she's doing, she'll fight for you. No, I do now, luckily, and that's kind of what's funny is just seeing you and Jordan grow and evolve over the last 3 years, and then seeing my business and real estate for me grow. It's neat because everybody has to start from somewhere.
Yeah.
And so, but that's great advice is that you got to start saving, and you got, again, starting from somewhere. Saving, credit. Most people don't even realize that they need credit to purchase a home.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say over and over, make sure you are getting credit. If you are purchasing a vehicle or whatever, even if you have a small credit card, which I know there's some lenders here that'll, and Dave Ramsey says, cut them up, obviously. And there's some definite reasons for him saying that, most definitely. But Also having some credit to buy these things. Now, you could have saved up how many ever thousand and just paid for it, but for a lot of people, especially 20 and 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, that's not going to happen.
No.
Not for a regular single family home or even anything really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, having that credit is super important. That's necessary.
It really is, because without credit, it would be years before I had enough to purchase the home.
Right.
So I'd be renting, and yeah.
renting. It's kind of interesting, and I kind of want to off of that. Allie and I and our husbands, bless their hearts, we're actually buying a duplex. So we'll be. Hopefully they're okay with me saying that. We're buying it tomorrow, and so hopefully we will be able to share a little bit of that as well on investments and investing, because once you've been able to purchase that first home and really get the hang of it and be able to start adding so much equity into the home like you are, then you kind of figure out, okay, how can we invest now? How can we save but also invest and grow that?
Yeah.
So I know you've been thinking of that, also traveling some, which I'm really jealous of. Yeah.
Yes.
Where'd you go recently?
Recently we stayed at Twin Lakes in Colorado.
Yes. And you hiked?
Hiked the highest peak in the North American Rockies, hiked Mount Elbert, so that was new for me. I've never done a hike like that before.
Yeah.
And it turns out I have a new hobby that I love. I'm already planning my next hike.
Oh, that's neat. And you got a really cool camper too, so you can actually go now.
Yeah.
Cool. Further investing.
Investing in adventure and fun. Yeah.
I would say that's something that you can't, money can't buy enough of is adventures with your loved ones and friends and everything like that. Well, Branson, it's been wonderful having you on. Is there anything last that you want to add to kind of the radio broadcasting, other than if people have a business and they have an ad, they can contact you how?
Probably just reach out to me on my cell phone.
Okay.
580-216-5012. Reach out to me on Facebook.
Yes.
Just look me up, Branson, or go to our website, woodwardradio.com.
Perfect.
My email's on there, and our business number's on there, so you can hit me up that way.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And Woodward Young Professionals, he's involved in a lot of different organizations, so if you ever catch him at Woodward Young Professionals, you can do that as well.
Definitely.
But thanks so much for being on, and thank you for being, you and Jordan, for being my first real estate customers ever.
Yeah, thank you.